help us digest this topic right here. It's none other person than Dr. Yetunde Unduga. Dr. Unduga, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yes, as a developmental psychologist, this is not part of my plan question, but I know it's a piece of cake for you. Why should we be talking about the psychology of man's relation with God?
Sure. So great question. So I think when it comes to just the development of how someone grows, whether it's mentally, physically, spiritually, there's usually something that they fall back on. And depending on, what they have now chosen to believe in, that is pretty much what determines or what establishes their relationship. So I can speak for myself. My relationship with God has developed me into a person where I now exhibit certain attributes that people who I may know or have more than likely worked with, if we don't have the same attributes, I know that it's because of different foundations, different backgrounds. So for me, when you're looking at the psychology of man and when it comes to its relationship with God, you have to understand what that person believes in, to understand, why they do things the way that they do, or why they speak the way that they speak, or why they function the way that they function.
All right, thank you, Dr. Yi. And that begs the question to all of us. What do you believe in? Do you just go to church on Sunday for the sake of going because your parent makes you to go? Or as adult or as parent, you go to church as a ritual. It's something that has to happen because you're used to that. Or do you have a personal relationship? So what do you believe? What do I believe? All right, doctor, this is my first question for you today. How can you explain the psychology man's relation with God? Over to you.
Sure. Thank you so much for the question. So it's kind of pretty much what I just kind of explained. When you look at a person, a man or a woman, and you see kind of how they move in terms of their lifestyle, it's because of their beliefs, it's because of their feelings, and it's also because of their behaviors, right? So depending on how they run their life or how their life is being ran, there's usually this foundation of the reason behind it. And when we tend to look at that, a lot of individuals' characteristics or a lot of people's individual lifestyles is because it's echoing something that they relate to. And for me as a Christian, and for those who are watching who might be Christians or those who may not have given their life yet to Jesus, this is kind of what it is, right? We tend to echo what God has put out there in terms of the instructions that we are to follow. And that is how we now mold everything that we do. I can give an example. I always usually give this example, but driving, right? When we are driving on a street, on a highway, and someone cuts you off, right? So when I always think about that, for me, what I used to do and kind of still do is, immediately I will get angry because I don't like when people cut me off. I feel like it's super dangerous, but at times I tend to look for the support of God. And usually I'll say, God, just help me, right? And that will now change my behavior. That will now change my feelings towards that person, towards the action. And when I now put God in front of the situation, everything is gone. The anger is gone. So when I think about that, just the example that I gave, God has this power to change how we feel. It influences what we believe and who we can depend on. And for me, I think that accumulates over time, right? Because your faith can start off so small, but over time, once you continue to have this foundation, and you are pretty much embedded in certain beliefs, then it pretty much changes who the man is as an individual or who the woman is as an individual. So in a nutshell, it shapes who we are as an individual.
Very well said. Thank you, Dr. Underka, for that. It changes whom we are as a person, as individual, which means that foundation is very critical to whatever we becomes in life. Foundation matter, when it comes to how you run your life, how you run your family, how you